Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we were from Group 3 and we would like to present our discussion result regarding bringing innovation with effective ELE project management. Next, our members consist of me, Andrani Safitri, APRILIA ANGGRAANI, ELGA GALILEO, INSAN SEKARARUM, and Safira Ananda PUTRI. Next, we can start with task 1. The first question is, with reference to Carl's article and Hayward, chapter 2, how do you define innovation and change in ELE classroom? Innovation is defined as an attempt to improve educational outcomes by doing something that implementers perceive to be novel or distinctive. It's a term interchangeable with change, where the better change. New pedagogic approaches such as text-based language teaching, changes to teaching materials, technological developments such as computer-assisted language learning, and alternative assessment methods such as use the portfolios are examples of language education innovation over the last few decades. Next, the second question is why and how change takes place. The area of applied linguistics as a whole should pay more attention to the insights that innovation theory and practice may offer. According to Waters, 2009, innovation can have schools stay current with new advancements or research findings, and they can also be a force for educational equality and career changes for people from all walks of life. Next, the third question is Charles refers to Rogers 2003 about the 5 cited factors that influences and user response. What are they? Rogers 2003 outlines 5 cited factors which influence and user response. There is a relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, triability, and observability. Next, the fourth question, Carlos also states that there are 3 main barriers to successful implementation of change. What are they? There is teacher-related, system-related, and school-related. These teacher-related issues include a lack of teacher ownership of or understanding of the innovation. System-related, such as poor communication and lack of mutual trust between change agents and frontline implementers. Putting too much emphasis on the practice of the innovation. And for the school-related, lack of supportive school culture for change, conservative process within a school, lack of support or understanding for senior management, and so on. And next, the 5th question is what is Charles' attention in referring to Marx's 1997 distinction between primary and secondary innovation? Primary innovation is changes to teaching materials or pedagogy, while secondary innovation is organizational changes which provide enable support for the primary innovation. And next material will be presented by Safira. Safira, then it's yours.
Okay, the next question is what does Charles think would be a great challenge in implementing language education innovation in the EFL context? According to Charles, one of the causes for failure and a great challenge to implement change in language education innovation in the EFL context is a failure to promote secondary innovation that has been presented by Andriani before. Next. The next question is what conditions are recommended by Charles to ensure the successful implementation of innovation? The first one is the innovation isn't overly ambitious and it has enough relevant secondary innovation to back it up. And then it works within reasonable timeframes and aims to facilitate early, small-scale success that builds momentum and positive sentiments. And then the next one is teachers are brought on board early on and they experience a sense of belonging and ownership that is more than a gesture. This teacher may act as intermediaries, champions, or opinion leaders. Next. The next condition is the project includes effective institutional-based professional development and support, and then the innovation is appropriate for the context and culture, and it does not promote values that are incompatible with those of the implementers. And the last one is the project includes problem-solving strategies as well as change management strategies to address any challenges that may arise. Next. The next question is, how does Hayward describe the relationship between innovation and project? According to Hayward, a project is an endeavor that examines current practice, proposes a change, and tests the change's implementation. And according to him, the relationship between innovation and project is significant. Change and innovation are encouraged through projects. They allow for the testing of potential innovation in a safe setting before making a decision to modify old practices until the new ideas have been proven to work. Next. And the next question is, what is his recommendation for the first step in project planning? According to Hayward, the first step in project planning is to examine current practices and ask ourselves, do we need to change, and is the current practice still appropriate? If the answer is yes, we have to keep it and reinforce it. And if the answer is no, we have to change and innovate. Next. The next task, which is task 2, will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Safira. Now we're moving to task 2. Next. Here we have tried to identify the potential problems the simplified RPP innovation might have on teachers, teaching materials, and assessment of English aspects by using the questions on the chapter 9 of the book entitled Planning for Educational Change, Putting People in Their Context First by Wedel. Next. Okay, first is the potential problems in the teacher's aspect. We have identified that there are 2 problems that may arise. First problem is teachers' unpreparedness in designing a student-centered lesson plan since they are used to the teacher-centered method. The RPP development principle, according to Surat Edaran Nomor 14 Tahun 2019 tentang penyederhanaan rencana pelaksanaan pembelajaran, is that the RPP must be efficient, effective, and student-centered. In addition, the learning paradigm has shifted to accommodate students' needs for 21st century skills so that they can acquire the life skills essential for 21st century society. These changes certainly make teachers must be able to adapt and adjust their teaching practices, including in their lesson plan design. Some teachers may find it difficult to adapt to these changes, failing to design the required lesson plan, and even misinterpreting the principle of the lesson plan development. It means that since we have moved to a student-centered approach, it is possible that teachers may leave everything to the students' hands, and they forget their job to guide the students in their learning and confirming knowledge that the students found. Therefore, before implementing this simplified RPP innovation, teachers should be given support or assistance from the teacher educators to help them to understand and guide them in designing the simplified RPP. However, this may be resulting in the second problem in the teacher aspects, which is the unequal distribution of assistance for teachers in comprehending the simplified RPP, especially those in rural areas. That is why it is very critical to make sure that all teachers in all areas get enough assistance to ensure that they fully comprehend the simplified RPP innovation so that the teachers will be ready to implement them and the implementation can run effectively and can make a positive impact on English lessons in the Indonesian classroom. Next. Okay, next slide will be presented by Aprilia.
Okay, thank you, Elga. The second one is teaching materials. Before the implementation of simplified RPP, there is the basis for regulating RPP. It is Permendikbud number 22 in 2016. In this regulation, it is stated that the purpose of RPP is to create learning that takes place interactively, fun learning, challenging, efficient, motivates the students to actively participate and provide sufficient space for the initiative, creativity, and independence in accordance with the talent, interest, also physical and psychological development of the students. Based on this Permendikbud, the RPP components include school identity, subject identity, class or semester, subject matter, time allocation, basic competencies, and competency indicators, learning objective, learning materials, learning method, learning media, learning resource, learning steps, and assessment. The number of RPP page range from 12 to 18 page along with the material attachment and assessment. There is even a lesson plan that is more than 25 page because of the more detailed description of the material and the assessment. And during the implementation of simplified RPP, specifically when we look at the teaching material aspect, there is no standard for writing lesson plans or RPP. Teachers are free to make, choose, develop, and use lesson plan according to the principle of being efficient, effective, and student-oriented. And in this implementation of simplified RPP, there are three components such as learning objective, learning steps or activities, and learning assessment. Next. The potential problem that might happen, especially in the condition of the classroom in Indonesia, the potential problem in the teaching material is just the different number of participants in the classroom in Indonesia could affect the success of simplified RPP or lesson plans. And rather than the potential problem that might happen in the teaching materials, there are more benefits of the implementation of simplified RPP, such as the teacher can reflect on the learning process in the class. There is no standard for writing lesson plans or RPP. Teachers are free to make, choose, develop, and use lesson plans according to the principle of being efficient, effective, and student-oriented. The third one is learning objectives are written by referring to the curriculum and student learning needs. And lastly, learning activities and assessment in the lesson plans are written efficiently, and there's no page count requirements as long as the RPP remains in line with the students-oriented principle. Next. The next slide will be delivered by INSAN. INSAN, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Aprilia. And this innovation may also raise a potential problem on the aspect of assessment of English. According to Surat Edaran nomor 14 tahun 2019 tentang penyederhanaan rencana pelaksanaan pembelajaran, the assessment process will be applied by using an authentic assessment approach. It contains assessments that measure higher order thinking skills of the students. It usually includes a task for students to do and a rubric to evaluate their performance on the activity. Students are urged to develop a solution and face a real-world problem to solve, and the teachers are facilitating the process. Nevertheless, using authentic assessment methods to grade students is tricky. These methods have no right or wrong answers. They are dependent on how well students comprehend and respond to the challenges and settings in their own way. Yet, this potential problem can be prevented by the use of technology. Teacher could create interactive questions, provide the students where they can find new information, and do simulation to make problems more engaging and real. The use of technology could also record students' awareness and also answers as well as their thought process. I think that is all for our group discussion. Thank you everyone for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.